Wow, it's time for another show full of tips and ideas from the sales growth leadership expert, Dean Akers. Known for his experience in hyper-growing companies and creating cultures for high-performance teams, here's Dean.
Well, welcome to your Sales and Leadership Ninja Show. I'm your head ninja, Dean Akers, and every week I bring you a rant to stimulate your thinking in either the realm of sales and or leadership. Today's show is Don't Flinch When You Drive. Today we're going to talk about leadership and the impacts you have on your people and how you communicate and what happens when your team watches. So you're probably wondering, Dean, why today's title and how does it relate to leadership? Well, it's simple. Think about leadership in the same respect as a driver of a car. So when you're driving the car, if you want to do this exercise, absolutely a hoot to do. You're driving, beautiful sunny day, nobody even heard it on the road. You're driving down the road, everybody's sitting in the listening to music. You can even have them on iPods so they don't even hear you. And all of a sudden you flinch up when you're driving. Watch everybody in that car seize up. Even those that you don't even think are paying attention will seize up. It is like a comedy show to watch. So when you do this, when you seize up, everybody's responding to your reaction and the emotion you have because of one reason. You're in control. So when you flinch, believe it or not, when you don't think they're paying attention or you don't think they notice it, I promise you, try that exercise. They do. They do. So in business as a leader, it's about creating the same confidence as with your team so that they know that you know what's going on and how to respond versus react in situations. I can't begin to tell you how many times I see this impact of reactionary leadership in companies and how it stunts their growth and opportunity for success. And I'll have business owners, they'll go, well, Dean, you the economy and all this other nonsense. And the reality is when we do a deep dive on them, it's they're reacting, they're flinching, they're driving their teams crazy and they don't know it and their team won't tell them. When they're not going to do it because they're in control, they're driving the car. So what tips would I give you as a leader to avoid this? Flinching. One is when you have that flinch thing, and this in a car, you're taking all this information real quickly and having to respond and react to it, is learn how to ask questions, both of your own thoughts and those of others in the environment around you. Now, obviously, in a car, it's somewhat different. If somebody crosses the ditch and comes, you're flinching, you're having to process stuff quickly. I promise you, in real life, you're flinching and processing and reacting on stuff today without somebody coming through the median on the ditch. You're just doing it for whatever. And we see that with the economy. We see that, quite frankly, in today's environment with the COVID, which is, by the way, very real. Don't want to discount the impacts it's having. However, your response to it versus reacting can make a big difference. And I've had previous shows where I've shared class examples of leaders that have responded to this versus reacted and, quite frankly, are doing very well now. So what you want to do as a leader to avoid this is learn to ask questions. Learn to ask questions. Those questions can be questions of your own thoughts, the thoughts of the others, and thoughts of the environment around you. And what I mean by this is when people come in to engage you, ask open-ended questions back of them. So, can you tell me how you came up with that assessment or that idea? And then the biggest thing is item 2 is you learn to shut up. And as you get to asking questions, and even asking questions of your own self, like what I'll have people go, well, Dean, blah, 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 blah. And I go, how do you know that? I just know. I go, so you haven't even questioned your own thoughts. I know, Dean, I've been in business all my life. So then when I start asking them questions, or I go to the internet and get facts off the government sites and stuff, it's interesting how many times they're very wrong. They're very wrong, and they're reacting versus responding. So learn to ask questions when you're in this process of learning how not to flinch when you drive. Then learn or practice the art of listening. And listening is really critical. Listening means listening to the question you ask. And I watch, I do my podcast on Saturdays or Sundays, either day. And I watch these news shows and I watch the people asking the questions to run on with answers and try to manipulate the question based on whatever, because they're answering the question before they shut up and listen. So learn to listen to the answer. And that means shut up. That means after they answer, give it a couple seconds and then follow on with another question. It'll help you take the reacting of driving the car out of freaking everybody out. Then become a facts-based leader. Just remember the famous line back in years ago. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but nobody is entitled to their own facts. I see this every day where people get totally sidetracked on issues or situations, both leaders, salespeople, people in general, when they get sidetracked on believing their own thoughts and not basing it on facts. And what happens is it creates big time disruptions in their lives. And when we really look at their opinions versus the facts, it's sometimes pretty startling. One of the examples I learned years and years ago that brought this to light to me was when I was younger, I got my pilot's license. And when you get your pilot's license, they teach you some aspects of flying with instruments. And the reason they teach you to fly in instruments is if you get in bad weather, you can continue to fly. And you see it every day if you fly on airlines. The pilots fly by facts when they're flying in the dark or they're flying in bad weather and they land in fog. And so they learn to fly by the instruments and they do not trust their instincts. When you're flying an airplane and you trust your opinion or your feel, that's called vertigo. And you can get disoriented. It killed John Kennedy Jr. Crystal clear night. He got vertigo, flew straight into Long Island Sound. So learn to fly the plane by the instruments or fly your business by the facts. And I can tell you, this happens all the time when I'm dealing with CEOs and owners of companies, and they're telling me all their emotions, and I go, well, where'd you get that data? Can you show me your market data? Well, I just know, Dean. Okay, do you know the market data? Or they talk about finance. I go, show me your financials. Well, what do you mean? Well, show me your financials. My CPA takes care of that, my accounting people. How often do you look at the facts and make decisions? Well, I just know it. I find out they don't. Have you built out a model so that you're not making emotional decisions? You take great data from all the stuff that's available today. It's incredible. And you build out a model so you're making great decisions. And you're teaching your people how to make these decisions so they're not flinching with their teams. So remember, as a pilot, you don't get those options. Because when you start trusting your emotion as a pilot, you're going to crash and die. When you're a business leader, a lot of times those emotions can cause you to crash and die. But more times than not, it causes crashes. But you always blame outside stuff. And again, it's not an aircraft crash. It's a business crash. So I want you to go out this week and learn to make fact-based decisions and don't flinch when you drive. And what happens when you learn to make these decisions based on facts, it builds trust in your company. So build your company based on the facts. So the takeaway, take time to discover the facts and keep them at hand all the time. Become a leader that understands the impact of flinching when you drive and the impacts and that it creates on your team. And as you understand these impacts and you start deploying responding versus reacting, not flinching, asking open-ended questions, engagement, basing on facts, asking questions of your own assumptions, you'll see a big difference in your team's happiness and your team's success, in your happiness in your success and in the financial results of your company. So your assignment today is to think about how your team looks at you today. Do they see you flinching while you drive? Or do they see you as the confident driver that's always reviewing situations and looking at everything in front of them so that you're not reacting and freaking out the riders? Ask yourself again, are you that confident driver? Are you the person that's not flinching when you drive and freaking out your passengers? Thanks for tuning in every week, and remember to share if this helps you. My book, Self-Talk, Think Like a Child, is available on all the major book ordering sites. Amazon is probably the best one. And if you ever have a question, please email me. If this doesn't make sense to you and you want to visit on it, email me at help@deanakers.com. I answer every email. I get them every week, and I answer, and I'm glad to help you at no cost, just to reach out and help you after today's show. Have a great week, and don't freak out the passengers in your car. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Subscribe today to our podcast and send questions or thoughts to help@deanakers.com. Also, visit us at www.deanakers.com to listen to prior shows and view helpful videos. Also, great tips to download. Thanks again. See you next week.